Hey, what's up guys? Morning. A little bit of a cool morning here for Thailand. I mean, still no shoes and no sandals and no shorts and t-shirt, but you know, relatively it's not hot. I was thinking today about something, about gratitude. I don't know what do you think about gratitude? There's a lot of research that says that people that are grateful are more healthy physically and healthy emotionally. These are long-term studies, so there's definitely some validity to being grateful for things. And I think that just looking around society, I often see a lack of gratitude, which I think another perspective could lead to a lot of happiness and for people. Women, I often see this in women, but in men, pretty much everybody. And I want to talk about why I don't think, even when people try to be grateful, why it often doesn't work. And very specific reason why. My thinking, I've been thinking about this for a long time. This episode had been on my mind for a long time. Because I go to, you know, everybody knows I go to like a 12-step meetings and I hear people talk about gratitude, and I go to I do a lot of, you know, I read a lot of self-help books, and I just kind of keep up on things, and I hear people talking about gratitude, and I just think, fuck, you know, like, there's something wrong with what everybody's saying about gratitude. I mean, a lot of it is right. Okay, gratitude is good. You know, everybody knows that when you feel grateful, you just kind of feel good. You know, you just kind of feel like, hey, you know, things are good, right? You feel grateful that something happened, or, you know, that you're lucky, that your life is good. You know, it's like, yeah, this is good. You know, I feel good about this. Rather than when you're not grateful, where you're like always feeling like the world owes you and you got fucked over and things aren't fair. You know, that creates a lot of bad chemicals released in the mind. We know that, right? So gratitude's kind of the opposite. So pretty well established that gratitude inside your mind affects your body, affects your mind, affects, you know, your long-term thinking, and also affects, I think, what you can achieve and where you can go in life. So what can you do to make your life better, right? So let's just think about this. And that's what I love about really the men's movement right now, is that so much stuff is being rethought, and it'll end up being good for society in general, like not just for the men's movement, but for women too. But so I was just thinking about gratitude this morning, and I think there's a problem. Okay, so what is the problem with gratitude? The way that most people do it. The problem is this. This is what I think, and you tell me if this hits any kind of note for you. Is that, let's give me an example. Okay, so let's say somebody's religious. And let's use a god that nobody really believes in too much, like I don't know, a Norse god, and you know, in Norway and Norwegians, and back with the Vikings, right? So let's just say Thor or something, right? So one of these gods, and let's say that you know, some Viking, you know, he landed on some beautiful island, and he's grateful, right? Now he wants to feel grateful, just for example, right? So he's like, okay, I'm going to be grateful to Thor for giving me this beautiful, you know, island, right? Now the Vikings had a spotted history, and as most people do, most peoples, so maybe it's not the best example, and I don't mean to say that anything the Vikings, I'm just using an example because I don't want to use the Muslim god and the Christian god right now. That's basically why I'm saying using this example. Okay, it could be the Scientology or whoever, you know, whatever, or any cult or whatever, but he's sitting there and he's thinking, hey, God did this for me, I'm grateful to God. Now, what is wrong with that? What is wrong with that? Because, okay, let's face it, if you want to improve your life, you have to base it on things that really work. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to figure it out piece by piece, right? To improve our lives. Why don't things work? And we're like, fuck, I almost had it, you know? Like gratitude, okay, I know that's good. I know that kind of calms down, brings down my blood pressure, feels good, right? But then there's something missing. There's something, you know, like there's something you can feel. There's some fucking thing that's still there, right? So what about this guy? What about this Viking here in the example? What is the problem? Okay, the first problem is that Thor doesn't exist, right? So, you know, nobody believes in Thor anymore. You know, if he does exist, he's a huge mystery, right? But let's just say, you know, probably doesn't exist. So he was giving the gratitude to Thor for that beautiful island, this deserted island he found, right? Not something he took from anybody else. He found this beautiful island when he was out marauding around, and he thanks Tor for it. But the problem is, why doesn't the gratitude really work for him? Because the person, or gratitude is always, this is okay. Here's my kind of epiphany, is that gratitude is for something that somebody did for you. I think this is what's missing. Okay, now sometimes it's just nature. Okay, like let's say for example, you're surfing and you're almost drowning, and like a huge set comes in, like the third wave, you're held underwater, and then finally the set's over and you come up. You can be grateful that, you know, like the waves stopped, right? So sometimes it's nature. Sometimes it's not a person. But here's what I think is missing most of the time with gratitude, is that most of the time it's a person. Okay, so for example, an older guy is grateful, let's say for example to Tor, for his health, or that guy on the island. He's thanking, you know, his god, Tor, for this island. But really, who is responsible for that island? Who is responsible for him being there? Well, for one thing, his parents. His parents gave birth to him. They stayed up all night. They took care of him. They did, you know, they nursed him. They tried to, you know, help him to overcome things. You know, they worried all night, as parents always do. You know, there was a lot of things that his parents did to bring him to be an adult. Like we're not, you know, human beings are not like floating out there like on our own. Like we did it all ourselves. This is one of the things I really hate about the men's movement. One thing I just really don't like, and I think it's wrong basically, is the idea that, you know, guys will say, you know, there are men out there that, and probably listening too, I want you to really think about this one, who basically hate women. Now, but to me this is ingrate, because let's say for example that you had a terrible life and every woman that you met was absolutely terrible, like really the worst. Or let's even say that a woman was in, you know, she had a terrible father, she had a terrible brother, you know, and she had a terrible neighbor, and she had a terrible this and a terrible teacher, and every man in her life was bad. And let's say that a man, every single woman took advantage of him, used him, abused him, you know, like really serious, like seriously bad stuff, right? Let's just say. Now, this does happen. This can happen. Now, would that guy be justified in hating women? Or would that woman be justified in hating men? Absolutely not. Why not? The reason is because we evolved over millions of years. Humans, as in our current form, before, you know, the pre-human forms, Cro-Magnon and stuff, we've been around for about, there's arguments, but basically 200,000 years is kind of the latest epiphany. They're saying it's not 100,000, it's more like 200,000. So we've been around for 200,000 years, and before that we were, you know, similar, like Cro-Magnon and things like that. You know, these were basically human forms, and they had parents. Now think about this: even if every woman in your life was terrible to you, some woman in your past stayed up all night crying and worried about you, about your relative before you. And without that relative, you would not be here. We are a product of millions of years of evolution, and billions of tears and crying and staying up all night and worried and out getting food and hunting and picking berries and getting nuts and protecting from lions. And if you don't believe this, if you don't understand that humans are old and that there's stories before you, you're not really thinking about it. You got to really think about this one, is that you're a product of millions of years. And those millions of years, there was a lot of people and a lot of living sentient beings who protected you, who took care of you, your ancestors, and those are you, right? Without them, you would not be here. We would not be here, right? It's a form. Everything is related to something before. There is gratitude. There is a continuity to life. You know, everything, one invention, like a man will invent something, right? or will create something, or realize something, or have a scientific discovery, that leads to something, and that leads to something else, and that leads to a computer or nanotechnology, or something. It's a new drug discovery, some longevity thing, or even something simple like and very important, like pipes. None of these buildings could exist without pipes, without water, right? So pipes and indoor plumbing was probably, a lot of people agree or believe that is probably the greatest invention of mankind, like the thing that created these cities we live in. Like, none of this stuff would exist that I'm looking at here. None of this stuff would exist without indoor plumbing. The ability to pump water up to these buildings is what, off the ground. We're not on the ground anymore. We're not on the trees. We're up in the air, right? I'm up right now. I'm on the 8th floor, right? And all this water's here. How did it get here? It was indoor plumbing, and it brought it over here. And same thing with the toilet that I just used, and washed my hands and take a shower. It's all indoor plumbing. And so these things, it's very dangerous to not appreciate history and to appreciate what happened before. It's very, very dangerous. It's very dangerous for you, because and this is what I think is the problem with gratitude, is that so many people will have gratitude. When they want to have gratitude, they will have gratitude for the gods. Okay, they'll have gratitude for something general. Okay, I think most of the time, if you really want to feel gratitude, okay, if you're an intelligent person, right, listening to this podcast, and you want to feel something, you have to base it on reality. Okay, that the more real it is, the more you're going to feel. Okay, so that's a basic. Okay, the more real it is. Now, you can make do with half-assed stuff. You could watch a movie that's kind of not that great, but you could feel something. But the more real that movie is, the more it'll hit you, and the more it'll affect you, right? And same with a teacher or whatever, right? So the more real, the more closer to real, the stronger your feelings are, the bigger effect on your life. So most of the time, things that happen in your life that are good were based on somebody else. So, for example, you might be grateful that, like, for example, the typical guy, without thinking, might be grateful that he's got a good job. He's got he's got a nice car. He's like, oh, I'm grateful because I have a good car. The smart guy, and here's my kind of insight, is the smart guy is like, wait a second, how did I get this car? How did I get this job? Was I alone on some desert island? I did it all by myself, or did somebody help me? And so, the way that I show gratitude is I think back to my history, and I think back to the people that helped me, and I feel gratitude, or I call them and thank them. I actually write them letters, like old college professors. I wrote my English professor a letter recently telling him that he changed my life. He was a very big effect on my life. My woodshop teacher, I met him. I told him, I said, you meant a lot to me. And he couldn't even understand what I was talking about, because I was so serious. He couldn't even kind of get, but it was very, very serious, because I was in junior high school. I was really having a hard time. And he was like, for me, he was like super meaningful, this teacher. And so I showed gratitude. I told him, I said, you changed me. I think back now, and I think to my grandfather on my mother's side, probably he saved me. I think, you can never know these things for sure, right? It's just kind of guessing. But I think knowing the state of disarray that I was in, the road that I was going down a bad road, just like kids can do, right? And my grandfather on my mother's side, on his love and his caring about me, I think now, looking back, I think it probably was a difference between me turning on a dark road or somehow staying off that road. Not that I went on some great road, but I didn't go down that road. I didn't go down the crime. I didn't, I didn't open a meth lab. I didn't do a lot of stuff that I could have gone down that road. But the love he showed me made me straighten up. It did. I'm sure about it. I don't have the exact, you can never know, okay? This is the problem with gratitude and thinking back to how people influenced you, is that you can never really know. You have to kind of think, right? You got to really think about this. Like, what do you think this meant to you? That's the best you can do. That's the best you can do. And so for me, I thought about it a lot. I think my grandfather, my mother's side, Walter, was a huge influence on my life. Huge, huge. Because when no one believed in me, I remember some specific incidences when I was getting the shit kicked out of me, and he stopped it. I mean, like really getting shit kicked out of me by an adult, and it wasn't right. He stopped it, and he said, that's not right. He said, you know, a grown adult man should not use the full force of his leg on a child. And I remember thinking, like, at the time I couldn't really grasp what happened, but now I can really understand, like, that was like pure love. That was pure love, man, because he was right. I was being seriously, like, it was not right what was happening to me that moment. And he came in and showed concern for me, even though it wasn't really his place. He said, no, this is not going to happen in front of me. This kid is not going to get shit kicked out of him for no reason. You know, like where he can be injured or internal injuries. When he, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to let this happen. He stopped it. And that kind of stuff is very, very meaningful. And so I feel gratitude for my grandfather, because I believe that changed my life. That was like the key thing. So if you've ever studied child development or raised a child or watched a child, you know this is true. You know that there are these turning points that the kid gets some kind of help from somebody. Now, the kid usually doesn't remember it. Okay, that's the thing. But there's a certain teacher or moment or experience that kid has that changes him, where he kind of goes down a good route instead of a bad route. So I think the key to gratitude, I believe the key to gratitude is separating being grateful into separate boxes. Okay, so one box is nature. Okay, or essentially, if you're religious, God. Okay, so nature, the laws of nature. Something spared you. You know, you fell off a cliff and you landed on a tree halfway down. That's nature. That's God. Okay, that's like not a human. You fell off there was nobody there, and it was just like pure amazingness, and you're just like so grateful that you're alive. Totally cool, totally awesome. But that's only one part. Most of the things in your life that you have are because somebody helped you. Somebody took the time to teach you. Now, a lot of things we can't remember, like, it's impossible. Apparently, I can't remember, and I've heard that nobody can really remember who taught them and how they taught them to tie their shoes the first time. It's like the weirdest thing. Like, you can think, who taught me? You know, I don't remember. You know, but you know how to tie your shoes. Now, somebody took the time to sit there with you. Maybe you were ornery. Maybe you didn't want to do it. Maybe you didn't like shoes. Maybe, you know what I mean? Whatever. You know, this is what kids do, right? They fight against these things. But somebody was patient, sat down with you, and they showed you how to tie the shoes. They made you laugh. They did something, and they showed you, okay, here's how you tie your shoes. And there's a lot of stuff like that in life, where somebody took the time out of their schedule, out of their thing, and they helped you. And it's easy to think, oh, yeah, that's what everybody does. But it's not true. Some people don't. Some people never help anybody. Very little. There are people that just basically, you know, are not like that. So I feel grateful that I'm around, or whenever something good does happen to me, somebody takes the time out of their schedule and they're patient with me and they help me. And that's what I do. So that's how I show gratitude. I think back to what it was. I think back to specific people. So what I do is I will, for example, you know, I had this guy who helped me a lot. The guy's name was Scott Harvey. He's passed away. And so sometimes I go to his grave when I'm in Newport Beach. I'll go to his grave and I will talk to him and show gratitude, because he meant a lot to me. He helped me a lot. You know, and there's another guy who helped me a lot, Don Gard. He's also passed. And he was my college professor. And we became very close friends. And he really meant a lot to me, because he showed me love, like real love. Like, just, I felt peace in his presence. Like, that's all I can say. In a very chaotic time in my life, I felt this kind of, I would just get in his car, he had classical music playing, he would come and pick me up. He didn't need to, I had a car, everything was fine, but he would come and pick me up, drive me to wherever we were going, we would talk, and as soon as I got in his car, I felt like things are going to be okay. You know, I just felt this peace. He had nothing to gain from me. He was not trying to get anything out of me. There was nothing on his part. It was pure love and helping me. And I'm very grateful for that, because I realized that love might have turned the corner in another very important time in my life, where I was like, hell, I'm gonna give this change a chance, you know. And I did, and it worked. And I think back to that time in Don's car was probably a big deal. Probably, I think it was the difference. Is I just felt like, okay, you know, you get cynical, right? You're like, I don't believe it's gonna work. Yeah, it's not gonna help. You know. And then you got this one loving old man who just like, even despite your, you know, not believing and not wanting to, you know, change and everything, he's just loving you anyway. You know, he's just fucking being there, right? He just won't give up. And then that makes you think, damn, you know, like, okay, maybe for this old man, I won't do anything today. I won't do that today, right? You know what I mean? Just because he, whatever, you know. And then the one day becomes another day, and the next thing you know, you had a huge personal change. And then you think back and think, wait a second, how did I do this? Was it all me? Or did somebody help me, right? So if you want to really have gratitude, I think if you're feeling like you want to improve your life, you want to have a little bit more peace, I think showing gratitude for people that helped you. And if you want to go even farther back, like I said, people that helped you even before you were born. Because, you know, like, if your dad wouldn't have been, you know, loved and nurtured by his mother, you wouldn't be here. You would not be here. And I would not be here. So there was a lot of things that people did, a lot of crying. And if you've ever had a kid, or, you know, loved a kid, and you think, you know, of the kid a lot, and you're there, and then you're like thinking, you know, fuck, man, somebody did this for me, right? Somebody fucking did this for me. Somebody cared for me this much, right? And they were willing, you know, because it's a parent's kind of like natural state, especially a man, where he will like give his life, like take the kids on the railroad tracks, he will go and, you know, get run over by the train to push the kid off to save the kid. It's just the way fathers are. It's part of the package that we get as men. And so that gratitude for that, gratitude that somebody did that, you know, somebody had that attitude towards you. Not that they had the train, not that this situation happened, but they have that attitude, and you know, okay, as a kid, as a human being, you fucking know what's real, what's not real. You feel inside yourself, you fucking know, okay? And if your parents feel like that about you, it makes you feel secure. Because you think, fuck, you know, these people fucking, you know, love me, you know, like, I don't know why, maybe maybe you don't feel worthy or whatever, you didn't feel worthy or whatever, but just the fact they love you is like, you know, you think, well, fuck, you know, okay, well, you know, there's, you know, must be something there, I don't know, you know, whatever, you know, but it's they were giving to you. Show gratitude for people that really helped you, not for some fucking bullshit, fucking self-help pile of shit lie. No, think about real stuff in your life. Go back and think of the things that people did for you that changed your life, and this, you know, like specific people, and then give gratitude. Show gratitude. And I'm going to do another episode on how to contact people. My really works, a method I have for kind of making amends or talking to people who aren't here anymore. And I'm not saying it works, I'm not saying you're talking to them, but it fucking really, it's amazing. Yeah, it really is. It really is a very good tool. And for kind of catharsis and helping you to see, you know, and helping you to overcome and to kind of sort through stuff. It's a very effective technique. And I'm going to do it. I'll do it in a future episode soon. So that's it, guys. Show gratitude for people, not for some general. You don't. If you find yourself, if you know, like, oh, you know, I'm grateful to God. You think, okay, yeah, fine. You fell off a cliff, you landed on a tree. But what if you're grateful for your health? Why are you healthy? You're probably fucking healthy because your parents fed you healthy food. That's probably the main reason. or they kept you doing exercise, or somebody, your coach, you know, he was patient with you, you know, and he stepped you through, you know, so that you were frustrated. I remember when I was when I was playing soccer, and I was a forward, and I started as a fullback, yeah, and then halfback, and then a forward. But I remember that I was a good striker, but I needed work on dribbling, and I just couldn't get to the next level. And I finally had one coach, Vince Doviditis, and he would just force me to dribble around these cones over and over and over. And I was like, I hate this. I'm not good at this. I can't do this. You know what I mean? Like, I just can't do this, man. And he would just like, go, go, go. And he would just say the same thing to me. Kicking the bloody ball, kicking the bloody ball. He just kept, you know, just like, kicking the bloody ball. I never forget him, you know. And he somehow, out of all the coaches I had, because I played soccer for a long time, he was the one. Vince Doviditis was the guy. That guy changed my life because I believed in him. He was a really positive coach. And a lot of people actually in my hometown like really love this guy. Like, now I realize, like, there's a Facebook page where people were talking about it, you know. And I realized that it wasn't just me. He affected a lot of people. So, you know, why was I good at soccer? You know, I was good at soccer, you know, partly I had some abilities, but it was nurtured, and there was a patient man who was my coach. Now, he wasn't paid, right? This is AYSO, right? This is like youth soccer. It's like, you're not paid for this shit. He would show up every day. He was very, very patient. And also he would force us, you know, he wasn't like one of these coaches like, hey, everybody gets a medal kind of coach. No, he's like, your dribbling sucks. You need to learn fucking dribbling. You're staying after. Dribble the ball. Go around the cones. Go around the cones. I can't do it. Go around the cones. Go around the cones. You know, and he forced me, even though I didn't want to do it, to finally learn how to dribble well and get ball control. So when I was on a breakaway, I was in control of the ball and I could score. And I became an all-star. And it was definitely 100% because of those dribbling exercises. No question about it. There's no way I would have overcome that because I hated dribbling. I like to strike. And I could strike from half court, half field. You know, I could strike, you know, like, I could sometimes score, either curve it in from a corner kick, or, you know, obviously a penalty kick. You know, I was good at that striking, both feet. I could left and right, but I could not dribble, and that was a weakness. You know, now I had a weakness he didn't catch. I was not good with heading the ball. I hated heading the ball, and so, you know, he didn't catch that one. Yeah, and no coaches did. So I never actually got good at heading, and that was one of the things that held me back from being really good in soccer. Is I never got really good at heading the ball. So I lost that control. I could use my shoulders, I could use all my body, the rest of my body. I could do a bicycle kick, but I could not use my head. And so, unfortunately, I didn't have a Vince Doviditis at that point in my life. But I have such gratitude for him because he taught me so much. I mean, one, he made me a good soccer player, and that was one of the most positive influences in my life at the time, really. Even now, I think back to the halftime with the Oranges. It was fucking awesome, right? It was like I was just out of my normal life. I was completely free, you know. I was like, yes, you know. I was like, and I was good. I was fucking good, right? So like, here I was, you know, just doing cool things, right? And I was doing it, right? Nobody else was doing it, and it was all me on my own. Like, I was discovering myself, you know. He allowed me to discover myself, right? His love, patience, and knowledge of soccer, and ability to work with me and to reach me, because I wasn't easy to reach, right? He could reach me, this guy. You know, that was the thing, is he could fucking reach me. He could get me to go, you know, like, God, like, how do you reach this kid? I was not easy to reach, you know. And Vince Doviditis was able to do that. I'm very grateful, right? And when I think of that, when I think of Vince Doviditis, so many good feelings flood my body, because it's real, man. I'm talking about real shit, okay? So take the time to think back in your life for who helped you. It might have been your mother. You know, I was talking to a MGTOW one time, and he was saying, you know, women are this, women are that. And I said, you know, what about your mother? And, you know, like I told you before, you know, turns out the guy's mother had smuggled him across the border from Eastern Europe, and under risk of death. Like, seriously, this was Cold War. Risk of fucking getting shot. People were shot all the time going across the border, all the time, and died cold, miserable deaths alone in the dark. And she took that risk so her son could have a better life, and he does have a better life. So after we talked about this, you know, he almost started crying because he's like, yeah, you know, that's what his mother did for him. So don't, it's a sin, guys. It's not only like gratitude for people is good for you and it will make you feel good, but it's basically a fucking sin. It's a sin that somebody helps you and they don't show gratitude. I think when I help somebody, I remember too, did they, you know what I mean? Did they show gratitude? And this goes to my definition of not only gratitude for myself, but also my values. So one of my values is if somebody teaches me something, I will not rip them off. Okay, now rip off is a term that a lot of guys wouldn't use for what I'm talking about. So for example, I was given a job in Tokyo in investment banking. Now I had no experience in investment banking. I spoke Japanese very fluently. I was very good at cold calling. I was a good salesman. I was able to talk to people of various, you know, levels. I could talk to a bank manager. I could talk to a wealthy person, and I was able to, you know, to get trust and to deal with high-level people, right? So this girl, Amanda, she saw that and she told the owner of this company, she said, I think that this guy can do investment banking. I think he can do it. And his Japanese is very good. And so he gave me a chance and then hired me, but it was from Amanda, who saw my skills, and we weren't lovers or anything. We were just friends. And she was a beautiful Australian, actually. And very sweet girl, actually, very sweet. She had a bunch of brothers too. I think there's always something there. Like girls with a lot of brothers, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. They get a lot of, they learn a lot, you know. They learn to work with people, and she was like that. She understood men. You could not offend her. Like she was like super pretty, right? Super, very beautiful. Yeah, but she was like a tomboy. You know what I mean? I know she got some beautiful kids now, and she's doing well. I want to meet up with her actually, see how she's doing. I haven't seen her in years, but she was the one who spotted my talent, brought me to the boss. The boss hired me. Then the boss trained me. Now, the boss was not perfect, okay? This is the thing about gratitude, is that you have to really, really think about this one. Let me tell you my values. I'll tell you this story last. So, my boss, Bill, I didn't know this, but he had Hep C when he hired me. And he was going to undergo treatment. This is before the new drugs. It was when there was the old Hep C drugs that basically when you took them, you just basically want to kill yourself. It was really bad. Like you felt terrible for like 6 months. It was a really tough, a lot of people couldn't do it. Like they would rather die of Hep C in cirrhosis rather than go through this. That's how bad it was. So I didn't know this, but unbeknownst to me, Bill was going through this just as he hired me. So he hired me and his job was to train me. But here he is getting these shots and he's just absolutely physically miserable. Now he worked and he overcame it, and now he's free of Hep C. But this was the time when he was supposed to be training me, right? Now, he didn't train me that well, but he gave me use of his office. There was a couple other guys in the office that I could always ask questions to, and I worked my balls off calling bank managers, credit departments, and looking for debt, to buy debt. We were buying real estate backed debt. So in Japanese, furiosaiki. So I was looking for that, man. I was like, I gotta get this, I gotta find this. And I was very good at it. But he gave me the opportunity. Now he didn't pay me a salary, there was no salary. It was a commission only basis. And we were working with $60, $100 million buildings, right? Like kind of like what you're looking at here. Like big buildings, we'd sell buildings like this. And sometimes we'd sell a package of like several buildings like this. Or we sold golf courses, hotels, everything from companies. We sold companies, like a tire company, an animal drug company. So it was like people wanted to sell some big complex thing. We were a broker for that. And there's only a few brokers in the world that do this level stuff. And he gave me the chance to work at his company. And now he wasn't perfect. And it wasn't like It wasn't like, you know what I mean? Like gratitude, this is the thing, guys. You have to look for it. But see, I think my values is that he allowed me to work at his company. He allowed me to call clients using his business card, using his name. He had a lot to lose. He trusted me, and I fulfilled his trust, and I did a good job. But when I left that company, because I realized he had weaknesses, and he was like very controlling, and I realized I didn't want to spend my whole life working under him in this small office, even if I was making, gonna make like serious money. I just didn't want to do it. I was like, fuck, God, this is so close to what I want, like huge money, commissions of $3 million, because it was a $6 million total commission, and then $3 million on my side. It was like, I was like, fuck, this is awesome. God damn it, and I'm good at this. But I just realized if I was going to stay there, I was going to work for him forever. You know what I mean? I was going to be with this guy forever. And I didn't want to do that. I was like, no, I don't want to do this. And so it was one of these things that was so close and so far. I worked there for about 10 months. And it was a great experience. But when I left, I talked to him about stuff. And he basically said, he had already told me, I knew how he thought. He said, basically, I gave you the chance. Don't go to the competitor, because that's fucking me. If you go to the competitor, you're fucking me. And I thought about it, and I thought, everybody else that left his company went to the competitor, okay, just so you guys know. But for myself, I thought about it, and I thought, this guy's kind of right. He's not perfect. He was not there. He was absent a lot of times when he should have been helping me. Okay, there's no doubt about it. He wasn't perfect. See, that's the thing. Things are not always perfect, right? And even though they're not perfect, you can be grateful. And I thought to myself, and I thought honestly, like a judge, I thought, do I owe this guy to not go to a competitor? And I thought about it. I thought, you know what? I kind of do. Like, he took me out of, just basically headhunting. I had a headhunting company at the time. And he brought me into this world of banks and wealthy guys, and it was like an exciting world for me, man. I loved it. I made so many good friends, and I really learned. I polished myself through this job. I became a polished businessman who could who could get trust of a bank like Tokyo Mitsubishi, like the manager of the credit department of Tokyo Mitsubishi Bank, which was the largest bank in the world, in Japanese. And that was an enormous boost to my self-esteem. And I thought about it, this guy brought me in this world. I owe this guy something. I don't really care legally what I owed him, but I felt like he was right. I felt, you know what? This is a borderline one because he wasn't there for me a lot of the time. But you know what? I think I think I owed it to him. So I said, fuck it. And I decided not to work at a competitor. And I actually decided, okay, I can't work for a fucking competitor. What am I going to do? And I decided what I had to do, which was I left for China. And I got into a whole new, I tried to do the same business in China because that wasn't a competitor with him. So I knew that he was okay with that. And we talked about it. And so I was like, okay. So I went to China. I worked on some big deals with hotels and stuff. Nothing worked out in China, but I ended up doing something related that did work out. And I know for a fact that I became a higher level businessman from that experience. There's no question about it. Because I had been selling smaller stuff till then. Now, I had worked with some pretty heavy hitters. I mean, I really had a lot of connections, but only you really know yourself, okay? This was important to me, okay, as a businessman, very important. It polished me. It gave me a faith in myself. It gave me a perspective on life. It gave me a series of friends who these were serious guys. Like the guys that I made friends with, like one of them like owned half of Osaka, like the real estate. Like these guys were the guys I was playing golf with, and they were all taking me to golf. They all liked me too. And that was the other thing I learned is like, fuck, I really fit in with these guys. Like these were cool fucking guys. Like these are movers and shaker kind of guys, right? They do shit like they have the power, right? And it's like these guys were awesome to hang out with because, like brainstorming with them was not like brainstorming with the average person because they were smart, right? They're like, that's a dumb idea. And I'm like, why is that? He's like, because, like so-and-so did that and here's what happened, blah, blah, blah. Like they weren't stupid. These guys were really smart and experienced and they had money and they liked me and they accepted me. They fucking accepted me, man. It was a big deal, and then now Bill didn't make that happen. My boss didn't make that happen, but I discovered that in myself through this situation, right? So, you know, there is gratitude there for bringing me into that situation. And anybody who is in a high-level position, okay, if you're in a high-level position, you know what I'm talking about. This is kind of mentoring kind of situation, you know? You owe gratitude for people that helped you. And if you show gratitude, one, is the right thing to do. Two, you're gonna feel better. And three, you'll see your life more clear. You'll see your life clearer. And this is a beautiful thing. And you'll also, I think you'll want to help more people too, you know? The more you see how much people helped you and how important it was, and then you'll, like for myself now at this stage, like I love to do something nice for a kid that I'll never meet again and he'll never remember me. You know, I just see a kid and I see him trying to do something and I take it seriously. I try to help him, whatever he's trying to do. He's trying to climb a rope or something. I'll climb the rope and I'll show him, right? And then he'll be like, oh, you know. I taught some kids how to climb trees that were really little kids, and they were stoked, man. They were fucking stoked because I love climbing trees, right? I'm like a fucking monkey, right? And even at my age, you know, I'm just a fucking monkey, right? So, you know, I can dig on the physical, man. I can dig on the physical, and that's something I can teach, I can pass on. And it's not to get something, it's because I love it, but also I know how this stuff really means something, you know. You don't have to remember it, you don't have to be grateful, you know. It's just like some of this shit just goes into into the ether and leaves goodwill for you, I think, in your own brain. You know, I don't really believe in karma that much, but I think that you create your own karma. If you do good things, you're gonna secretly feel good about yourself, and that will get you through the tough times. That will get you through the fucking trying times when you really feel down, when you're really hitting the fucking wall, when things are a real struggle, right? So this shit is not small, you guys. I'm talking serious shit. Take your time, think back to your life, and feel gratitude for somebody you never felt gratitude before. And tell me how you feel. Right down in the comments below. Thanks very much for watching. And I appreciate you guys. The summit was awesome. Fuck, it was so good. A couple guys are still here. I'm gonna meet up with one of the guys, Jose, here on Saturday. It was really great. You guys, I'm so grateful for everything happened this weekend. It was fucking awesome. I'll talk more about this later, maybe in an interview or something. But either way, it was really great. I feel energized. I hope you guys do too. And anybody who wasn't there, I hope you kind of feel off the vibes of what went down at this fucking summit, man. It was awesome, man. It was awesome. All right, guys, take it easy. Ronin Man signing off.